Hello viewer, welcome to an exciting time on a Worldview today. My name is Emedion James, coming to you live from Uyo. On today we are going to take a special report on the Board of Peace Summit that happened yesterday. And the Board of Peace, Donald Trump made several pledges with different countries, but unfortunately, some European nations missed the conference. We're going to take a step-by-step review of all the things that happened, the countries that pledges to the progress with Gaza. I'll also move to the Asian Pacific region, where we will look at the insurrection case with the former South Korean president. And finally, we will end with Africa, where we'll take a quick look at the situation of illegal immigrants in Kenya, and also we'll compare the situation between the Russian-Ukraine war scene, where they are reported that some Kenyans were illegally recruited by Russians to fight in the war. These and many more stories all coming up on Worldview today. Please stay tuned. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is Worldview on Spectrum TV. First on Worldview today, U.S. President Donald Trump told the first meeting of his Board of Peace on Thursday that nations had contributed $7 billion to a Gaza Reconstruction Fund that aims to rebuild the enclave once Hamas disarms, an objective that is far from becoming a reality. The disarmament of Hamas and militants and accompanying withdrawal of Israeli troops, the size of the Reconstruction Fund and the flow of humanitarian aid to the war-battered populace of Gaza are among the major questions likely to test the effectiveness of the board in the month ahead. Before we do a highlight of what transpired during the meeting yesterday, let's talk about the Board of Peace, how many countries joined, and what's the objective of the Board of Peace. On Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump presided over the first meeting of his Board of Peace, an initiative that has drawn praise from Trump's allies, but also criticism from countries worried that it will undermine the United Nations. Trump's first proposed a board last September when he announced his plan to end Israel's war in Gaza. He later made clear the board's remit would be expanded beyond Gaza to tackle other conflicts worldwide, with Trump as its chair. Such efforts have traditionally been a role for the United Nations. Member states would be limited to 3-year terms unless they pay $1 billion each to fund the board's activities and earn permanent membership, its charter said. Meanwhile, we have countries that have not joined the board, Washington's key Western allies, as well as major powers of global south, such as Brazil, India, Mexico, and South Africa have not accepted an offer to join. Leaders of Britain, the European Union, France, Germany, Norway, and Sweden have said they will not join the board. Trump's resigned an invitation for Canada last month after he took issues with Prime Minister Mark Carney's speech in Davos. Brazil and Mexico have said they will not join the initiative, citing Palestinian absence from the board. The Vatican has not joined, saying efforts to handle crisis situation should be managed by the United Nations. China and Russia, both veto-wielding members of the United Nations Security Council, have not also joined. Let's look at key announcements from the summit yesterday. The event began with recognition of executive members of the Board of Peace, and later Trump was called to address the audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
What we're doing is very simple, peace. It's called the Board of Peace, and it's all about an easy word to say, but a hard word to produce, peace. But we're going to produce it, and we've been doing a really good job, and some of these leaders that are with us have helped me very much during just this first year. We have a first year like probably no other ever in our country, because we settled 8 wars and I think a 9th to come. It's turned out to be a tougher one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But with war, you never know what's easy and what's not so easy. But we've had a great relationship, and I've become friendly with so many of the people. And I appreciate you being here. These are great people. These are great leaders. Board of Peace is one of the most important and consequential things I think that I'll be involved in. We've been involved in a lot. Really, I've been involved in a lot with the people up here. We work together on ending wars with their country. Some of the wars were 32 years long, 32, 34, and a 37. That's a long time, and we ended it in about 2 days, each one of those.
The meeting began with a pledge for Gaza.
And the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Assistance is raising $2 billion for the support of Gaza. Additionally, Japan has just committed to host an aid fundraiser, which will be a very big one. It's already successful. We know some of the numbers that are being talked about, which will be attended by other nations in the region, including South Korea, the Philippines, Singapore, and others. And I know that China is going to be involved, and I think Russia is going to be involved. I think they will be. I want to have everybody, get all sides, because it doesn't help when you have all sides with one ideology. You have to have everybody together for this. I'm also pleased to announce that FIFA will be helping to raise a total of $75 million for projects in Gaza. And I think they're soccer related, where you're doing fields and you're getting the greatest stars in the world to go there. People that are bigger stars than you and I, Johnny. I hate to say it, you know?
The U.S. president also announced that 9 other members of the body pledged an additional $7 billion towards the Gaza relief package. The donors include Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, UAE, Morocco, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. While lauding the pledges, Trump faces the unresolved challenge of disarming Hamas, a sticking point that threatens to delay or even derail the Gaza ceasefire plan that his administration notched as a major foreign policy win. Meanwhile, the dollar's promise, while significant, represent a small fraction of the estimated $70 billion needed to rebuild the territory decimated after 2 years of wars between Israel and Hamas. While Trump praised allies for making the commitment of funding and troops, he offered no details on how the pledges would be implemented. Trump also announced that the U.S. was pledging $10 billion for the board, but didn't specify what the money would be used for. It was also not clear whether the U.S. money would come from a sizable pledge that would need to be authorized by the Congress.
I want to let you know that the United States is going to make a contribution of $10 billion to the Board of Peace. Thank you. And we've had great support for that number. And that number is a very small number when you look at that compared to the cost of war.
Meanwhile, Trump touched on Iran and the United Nations. Tensions are high between the United States and Iran as Trump has ordered one of the largest U.S. military buildups in the region in decades. One aircraft carrier group is already in the region and another is underway. Trump has warned Iran it will face American military action if it does not denuclearize, give up ballistic missiles, and halt funding to extremist proxy groups such as Hezbollah and Hamas.
Fundraiser. We do have some work to do with Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You can't have peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon. And to join us on a path that will complete what we're doing. And if they join us, that'll be great. If they don't join us, that'll be great too. But it'll be a very different path. They cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire region, and they must make a deal. Or if that doesn't happen, I maybe can understand. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But bad things will happen if it doesn't. With the commitments announced today, the Board of Peace is proving that it does not just convene countries. It devises and implements, and real solutions happen.
Meanwhile, Indonesia, Morocco, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, and Albania made pledges to send troops for a Gaza stabilization force, while Egypt and Jordan committed to train police. Major General Jasper Jeffers, leader of the newly created International Stabilization Force, said plans called for 12,000 police and 20,000 soldiers for Gaza. Official after official used their speaking turns at the gathering to heap praise on Trump for his ability to end conflict. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif called him the savior of South Asia, while others said that years of foreign policy efforts by his predecessor failed to do what Trump has done in the past year.
A total of 70.
Mr. President, we've managed not only to work with you, with Israel, towards a better future for the region, but even when October 7th took place, the UAE managed to work with Israel in providing, since the war started, almost $3 billion of assistance to the Palestinian people in Gaza.
Thanks to your peace plan for Gaza, a ceasefire was achieved. A tragic war was ended.
Let me express the appreciation of the Hungarian people to President Trump for his tireless peace efforts all around the world. Hungary is the only country to be represented here on the highest level among the founding members from the European Union. I represent a country which has been living in the neighborhood of a brutal war for the last 4 years. We all know this war would not have broken out if President Trump had been in office at that time. However, President Trump's return to office offers a great chance to multiply the peace efforts not only in Gaza, but in Ukraine as well. We in Europe understand clearly that
Thank you for bringing hope again, President Trump. I think that of the many things that you have achieved in the last 12 months as President of the U.S., I think the greatest thing, and I'm probably the youngest head of state here, is hope, President. We have lost hope about solving problems for many, many decades. A system that was broken, a system that was not able to bring solutions. Now we're seeing that thanks from your leadership, we are solving the issues. I come from a country that 160 years ago faced extinction. We went to a war against our neighbor and we lost 60% of our territory and 90% of the male population.
This future. On behalf of Israel, I say thank you, Mr. Trump. Thank you for your leadership.
To attend this inaugural Board of Peace meeting in this holy month of Ramadan, and may God reward you and make you successful in your effort.
Meanwhile, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Finder said Trump and others would there deserved thanks for their collective efforts on Gaza. But Finder, who said Turkey also was prepared to contribute troops to the stabilization force, cautioned that the situation remains precarious.
Distinguished participants, after 2 years of immense suffering, ceasefire in Gaza has been achieved thanks to President Trump's personal engagement and our collective efforts. Yet the humanitarian situation remains fragile and ceasefire violations continue to occur. A prompt, coordinated and effective response is therefore essential. President Erdogan remains fully committed to Gaza's security, stabilization and recovery. Turkey has already been providing immense amount of humanitarian assistance to Gaza. We can also contribute meaningfully to the rehabilitation of health and education sectors, as well as the training of the police force. In addition, we are prepared to provide troops to the International Stabilization Force. Mr. President, Turkey will continue to support your efforts towards a just and lasting peace. We remain convinced that the foundation of such peace is the two-state solution. Let us work towards that objective for the benefit.
The president of FIFA wasn't left out. He also gave a detailed explanation of how FIFA hopes to help Gaza rebuild.
And that resolution. Distinguished leaders, dear friends, I just have 3 quick points I want to mention now. Football, that's the first point, football or soccer as it is called, here is the world's universal language. It is spoken by 6 billion people, 6 billion fans who have the same feelings. It's about hope, it's about joy, it's about happiness, it's about coming together and it's about uniting the world. Mr. President will unite the world here this summer during the World Cup, but if we truly want to unite the world, we need peace, of course. And this brings me to the second point, because today we announce a true partnership between the Board of Peace and FIFA, and I'm very proud and very happy to announce this. After having heard your presentations in Davos, I was feeling that we need to help, we need to do something. Everyone has to support peace. Everyone in this room, Mr. President, everyone outside of this room who would like to be in this room has to support peace as well. We all have to contribute for this, and that's why FIFA wants to contribute, because we don't have to just rebuild houses or schools or hospital or roads. We also have to rebuild and build people, emotion, hope and trust. And this is what football, my sport, is about. And the third point is that, of course,
at the inaugural Board of Peace meeting, Jared Kushner highlighted the historic 20-point Gaza peace plan under President Donald J. Trump's leadership With unprecedented global cooperation, humanitarian aid surges, hostages rescue, and a clear roadmap for Gaza's security, economy, and infrastructure has been launched.
Even without the president's, amazing commitment, over $7 billion. As Mark said, we don't really have a resource issue here, although we are going to need everyone's support. We just need to be executing and doing this in a good way. We've dealt with the humanitarian issue. We've returned the hostages. But the one final thing I just want to talk about as well from our perspective is that the President Trump in his heart wanted to get the hostages home, but he also really wanted to help the people of Gaza. He saw the suffering that they were enduring, not through fault of their own, because of the bad leadership that they had, the situation they were born into.
Meanwhile, Trump said Hamas had promised to disarm and would be met very harshly if it fails to do so. But he gave few details on how the difficult talks would be carried out. And that's all the highlights that we have for you concerning yesterday's Board of Peace Summit with U.S. President Donald Trump. And that's to say that we've come to the end of Worldview today. Apologies we couldn't come up with the other stories, but if you stay connected to us, you can find other stories on our website at www.spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Worldview on Spectrum TV. I am Emedion James. Do have a lovely day. Goodbye.